Hi, welcome back to the Mix Academy. I'm David Glenn, and in today's video, we're gonna wrap up our series from good to great, where we've looked at mix enhancements, techniques I've used for the band Navigate, the song Around Here, showing you exactly what I've done. You can be a fly on the wall and see the whole thing inside the Mix Academy's VIP or the other videos here on the channel. I'll link down in the description below, as well as the band. I wanna thank my man Justin Neist again for sharing the files with us, letting us feature the videos here on the channel. And then, of course, the full start to finish videos over in the Mix Academy, where you're going to be able to get your hands on the multi-tracks, download them, mix it for yourself, and use it on your portfolio. Today, we're going to look at the mix bus, otherwise known as stereo bus, aka 2-bus. I've got a series of plugins, routing. I'm going to spill all the beans for you right here in today's video. But first, if you're new to the channel, I want to invite you to download the Ultimate Guide to Referencing. It's a free guide that I'm going to give you the link in the description below. I'm going to take you through my exact referencing process. Referencing probably is the most important, most critical, most life-changing technique that I ever implemented as a mixer. EQ, compression, sure, you got to learn how to use those to taste. Whether or not you have good quality headphones or a room that's treated, referencing can really save your butt. So there's a lot to learn there. I'm going to put the free guide. You're going to look at what I do to set up referencing, how I choose good references, things that I'm listening for, all kinds of great stuff, information in that free guide, the Ultimate Guide to Referencing, link in the description. So here we go. Around here, we're wrapping this up, and we're going to talk about my routing into my buses, into the mix bus. If any of you remember, I was with the Pro Audio Files for years, and I had a video that went viral. It was a very popular series called the Stereo Bus Masterclass. And I used to rock the Studer into the Ampeg. I had a Pultec and all kinds of stuff on the 2-bus. And I've really dialed that back. I've told the story before, but basically what happened was I got a session where the tracks were well recorded, and not necessarily just well recorded, but they were committed. So in the tracking process, it committed top end to the cymbals and the vocal. Drum samples were chosen that already had fat bottom end and top end that was just hitting. So to have a stereo bus setup that already had boosted bottom and top and all of that, just as a default, it stopped working for me when I took on this project. And then go figure, a few projects in a row seemed to not really work with that stereo bus configuration. So what I did is I didn't necessarily just strip it all down immediately, but I started to find that less was kind of more with the 2-bus. Especially when I found the VMR, which was already there, but I started mixing hot into the virtual mix bus. You can see I've dialed the input way back. Let me hit play, a little snippet here. It's pegged. I'm pegging the thing. If I turn that off, it would be wild and crazy, but what I can do, turn it off here and then dial this back like crazy, and we'll pull this in. So let's go to a section where we're rocking. So it's a little more pretty, a little more clean, punchy, it's more open. Not digging it for this song, so watch what happens when we turn this on. If you want clear, punchy, by all means, ignore this video and what I'm about to show you, or dial back what I'm showing, but I'm pushing this pretty hard. Virtual mix bus, here's this engaged. The TV is playing, the light is still on, your cigarette burns a black hole in the dawn. 2 a.m. still having... Mixing through that, and what I'll do is I'll drive it until it does clip and distort and sounds nasty, and then I back it off a little bit till it feels good, and then maybe a hair more just for safety, because you get toms with a lot of low end or anything that bursts can cause that distortion to come in into play again. But this thing's a cheat code, man. This is one of my favorite things that I've ever put on the mix bus. I can't explain it. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. The SSL emulator, I am using the Brit 4KE, so it's an SSL. But the best I can explain is what I've heard of bending the console, right? Really hitting it hard and pulling out the character from the tones of the board. This is giving that to me in the box. Everything goes through this. And then if you look, my all vocals, all drums, percussion, low end, I've got all these buses broken out. They each have it. Not all of them are getting smashed there. Here I'm keeping it a little more conservative. But then when you get to mix A, they're all coming together here and they're getting hit pretty hard. So maybe let's back up a little bit and let's talk about this. So vocals, all vocals, my lead vocal, background vocals, harmony tracks, scream tracks, anything vocals is going to go through the all vocals bus where it's getting that. Think of this as kind of in the box summing, so to speak. So they're all kind of coming together and they're going through VMR. In this song, I did use a little EQ. We talked about that in the vocals video. Drums, same thing. I'm not even using very much drums crush anymore because I'm hitting this a little harder and I'm compressing heavy at the stage of the kick, the snare, whatever to taste. I still do from time to time pull in the drums crush. You can see this, it was in there. I just didn't use it for this song. So that bus will typically be very similar to what I'm going to show you with mix B, where we hit it hard and just kind of blend a little in. But I'm finding that hitting VMR is really giving me a nice smooth saturation that kind of tames the transients a bit and glues everything together. I know we hear that word a lot, glue. It gets thrown around quite a bit, but it's certainly the case with the virtual mix bus. Percussion, none of that in this song, I don't think, but that would be miscellaneous. Shakers, loops, percussion, anything like that would go in there. Low end, pretty self-explanatory. The bass, maybe if there's like a sub drop, 808s or anything like that, that's always going to come to the low end bus. All music we talked about in the guitars video, it's again the virtual mix bus driving that saturation, but then I've got imaging happening 35%, and then I'm automating the width, some extra imaging at the choruses or big sections of the song when I need it. So you can see that 25% is going to come on. And if you want to hear audio examples of that, go back and check out the guitars video. You're going to hear that in action. That's a big deal. High end is cymbals, overhead mics, ride, hat, any reverse cymbal crashes, swells, you got synths, any kind of like high end synthy things that are whatever. They go here for whatever reason, just how it's worked for the last 10 years that I've been doing this in the box. And then now we've got our all effects. The cool thing about the all effects bus is this is where my delays, delay throws, verbs, modulation effects, all those types of special effects, they're going to come to this effects bus. And then if you have a song where you have a dead stop, you need to like pull out all the effects, you may have to go and automate all the delays and reverbs and everything. Or you could just come to the all effects bus and turn it off. Automate a volume mute for that little snippet where you need things to just get dry. So a cool little thing to have there. All buses, I call them, these all buses send into mix A. Something I stole from Bob Horn years ago was he had a mix A, B, and C, and then the three of them went into his mix bus. Mix A would be his traditional mix bus, stereo bus compression, maybe a little EQ, maybe some mid-side EQ, and then maybe some top-end bus, right? What am I saying? Top end bus, top end added with the clariphonic here. So there's some EQ, there's some processing. Well, mix A sends into the parallel buses, which is mix B for me, is parallel compression. So now I'm going to hit the mix with some compression. I'll hit play and let you hear some of that in a second. And then mix C used to be parallel clipping. I stole that from Bob, where he would clip the mix and blend in a fully just smeared version of the track for loudness. So what I found over the years is I ended up going with clipping into limiting, stole that from the dance world. And that's my two bus. Like that's how I get loud, parallel compression into the clipping and limiting. And I've really enjoyed the sound of this. And I've mixed through it for so long now. K-Clip, the Kazrog K-Clip 3, anywhere from 1 to 3 dB of input with my gain staging gets me a significant amount of clipping, but it gets me a more, call it transparent loudness without the pumping from the limiter. And if I go to the high point, this limiter is probably not doing very much of anything. There you go. So my limiter is being tickled. It's not being relied upon. Mostly this K-Clip. So here, let's check it with the K. Actually, what'll happen if I turn K-Clip off is the limiter will be. You can hear with the limiter on and K-Clip off, it's more of a rounded tone. I don't know, it gets kind of that like compression vibe, whereas a K-Clip gives me that more transparent, it's chopping the transients off and giving me something that I like better personally. So depending upon your taste, feel free, check those out. Let's go through this. So mix A, again, that's like my stereo bus. I have some options in here, but I barely ever touch them. I may every now and then pull in this high lift, but I don't even mess with that much. Been using MSEQ and the clariphonic mostly. But the virtual mix bus, and like I said, I mix into this thing hot, so I'm pushing my levels pretty hard into this, and I end up getting myself into trouble and having to back off the input often. That's just the way I've been working, and it's been what's worked for me. Following that up, we have the Townhouse. I like to try a bunch. I got the API 2500, UA's version, Waves version. Lots of great options out there. We don't have to talk about that. For this particular song, I'm using a kind of a 410 auto probably. Nope, I backed off the attack a little bit. When I use parallel compression, mix B, I will go with a slower attack usually. But I did choose the fast release over here for this first bus compressor. And again, this is just maybe tickling the meter, the needle here.
But I can't even seem to say goodbye around here.
Very subtle difference there. A little bit of what that, typical glue you would hear people say from mixed bus compression, but that feeds into a Pro Q3 where I felt like I needed a little more bottom end. So we got a dB.5 on the subs. We got 100 hertz, about 0.7, and then a little bit of top end. Then I was like, what are you doing? You have the clariphonic. Why would you boost with that? So I came over here and pulled out some openness, some top end from the clariphonic Mark II. Super bummed. I recently switched over. I've been mixing in the beta version of Pro Tools that allows me to take advantage of my M1 processor, and doing so has made all my Kush plugins non-existent. They're not. It's one of the ones I miss the most. If there's any company that I'm like, dang it, hurry up, man, I miss the clariphonic and several of the other Kush plugins. Incredible tools. Moving on, sob story over. I did use an instance of Match EQ. I think I have a video here on the channel where I talk about that. It's 50-50. Sometimes I will do the Match EQ with a reference track. Definitely check out the free Ultimate Guide to Referencing. I talk about Match EQ. Sometimes I do the Match EQ and I rely on it. This is a gentle boost to the bottom, a little cleanup in the mids, low mids, and then boosting the mids, top end kind of thing. This is gentle. I'm pulling it on. This is not something where I bypass it. The mix is going to fall apart. But if I do a Match EQ and it looks something like this, then I'm going to say, okay, whoa, what's going on? I need to go back and look at my bottom end. What's happening with the kick and bass? What's happening with the vocal or the guitars or what have you? Match EQ is certainly a beneficial tool, but it's one you can get kind of sloppy with if you rely on it too heavily. So this one is a pretty gentle curve. I ended up keeping it, and then that's where we move on from there. So mix A, I send into mix B. So now mix B is a copy of mix A with all that processing you saw above, but mix B is now with a couple of compressors, and I chose to just throw on the BX Townhouse. This was a mix I did for my man Justin Nice as part of the mixing discipleship here at the Mix Academy. It's my one-on-one coaching program. He had this plugin. So all the plugins seen in this video, he had them, and so I only use those plugins when I'm working with my students. This is where we hit it hard, and so we're doing it in stages. I've got the attack at the slowest attack for this first compressor, and the release at auto. And you'll see 4:1 ratio, and we're hitting this a little harder. So this is now what I would typically have used before using VMR. It's going to give me probably 4 to 6 dB of reduction with that SSL style compressor. Let's check that out without the main mix, and we'll turn this one off for now.